Hey, good morning, guys. It's Mike from Sapulpa Times. Want to welcome you to a special episode of the Timeloop. Normally on Friday, it's the end of the week. We're looking forward to it. We're talking about Free Coffee Friday, and earlier this week, we had a monumental achievement. You know, it's something that you would think that the city and the country would be united around is celebrating the launch of the new space program and sending people back to the moon for the first time in 50 years. And you know, when this first happened, way back in 1968, 1 in 4 people on the planet were actually tuned in to watch this happen the first time. And it's really exciting that we have this happening again, but this is being overshadowed by some news that's hitting us locally here. So we are in the final days of our city council election, which happened on Tuesday, where wards 1, 3, and 5 are going to be going up for contest. And wasn't something that we were really fully expecting, but we do have some new things that are kind of hitting the social media platforms and kind of hitting the rumor mill here. So we wanted to show you what's going on and basically clarify some of what you've seen so far. So if you're not fully aware, there is a pamphlet of sorts that is being circulated now. And if you can't read that at the top there, it says, "Are you aware that David Mortazavi's real/given name is Saeed Dawood Khalili Mortazavi?" And this is difficult information to read, but if you care about you or your loved ones' lives, you will want to read this and educate yourself. And then the propaganda piece here continues for 8 full pages to espouse all the different uh, parts of the Islamic religion and things including adultery and honor killing to divorce and jihad and everything that you guys have already become well associated with if you've been paying attention to the national media for any time for the last like 10 years or so, and especially now as we're now in the war with Iran. Um, and of course, the implication here is that David Mortazavi, a man who is originally from Iran and immigrated with his family to this country when he was a child, is secretly a Muslim and has plans to maybe overthrow the local city government and institute Sharia law in the city of Sapulpa somehow. So, despite the fact that that sort of thing is preposterous on its face, if nothing else, that David Mortazavi, who is a veteran loving man and a business owner here in Sapulpa who has a long history of catering to veterans and families and civic organizations and had a deep and abiding love for his community. But the fact remains that he's also just one man among 10 that sits on the city council. And so even if you were to try and introduce some sort of Sharia law or Islamic Republic or whatever it is to the city of Sapulpa charter, I mean, not only did that go against our constitutional values, but I mean, the idea that this would pass somehow and he'd be able to convince another 9 members of the city council to get on board with this sort of thing is preposterous. And so this propaganda is leading to a couple of different problems. First of all, is that it's feeding on the fears that people have about maybe folks who are born from Iran right now, and the other problem is that it's actually being placed, allegedly, we're being told that this is being placed in the mailboxes of those who have David Mortazavi signed in their yard, which is in itself a federal offense. And so I do say allegedly there because we haven't been proven that yet, but we do have several sources that have told us that. And so, thankfully, the person who sent out this propaganda was kind enough to list their name at the bottom, and it does say, "Great blessings, Christy Glessner, president and founder of Shofar International Foundation," which is a mission trips organization dedicated to Jerusalem and to Israel. So, very much just stamping their name on there and leading everybody to believe that David Mortazavi's opponent, Kent Glessner, is the campaign that's behind this. And yeah, it's kind of taken the world by storm over the local world by storm over the last 48 hours. And so I wanted to make it a point to get out and to kind of talk about what's happening here, what sort of impact this could have locally, and just talk about unfortunately, it's not the first time that we've seen this. And so I do want to welcome, I have Vice Mayor Carla Gunn with me here, and I want to welcome her to the show now. And let's talk about this. So, Ms. Gunn, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good,
Thanks for
good
having me.
morning. Yeah. So you and I spoke yesterday when I first learned about this propaganda that was being put out, and um, we want to be careful to say that we're not trying to sway the vote of the people. Really, what we're trying to do is clarify some of the misinformation that might be out there, not only about one of our city councilors, but about the impact that this is having on the community, or could have if they're allowed to believe these things. So, you're someone who has some experience in this, and so I'm really curious to hear from your experience, and also, as you said, of the vice mayor of the city council. What's your immediate reaction to this, first of all?
It really saddened me. I was disappointed. Disappointed that 4 years later, because this happened to me in 2022, that we're still in that same place. It's reckless and it's dangerous.
Hmm.
And um, speaking with um Councilman Mortazavi and Councilman Nicholas, it has been trying to give them a little bit of insight because it's hard. It's hard. I want everybody to understand that politics, we know politics, you're trying to win, you're saying things, you don't agree with things, but when you go to the extreme of threatening or putting out propaganda that could lead to other people's fear. That happened to me. I had people showing up at my job. I work in Tulsa. My mailbox, they were putting hate mail, threatening my life in my mailbox. Um, I had to get police escort. Police had to sit on, in my driveway and watch my house. And it is at first when you're running, you're trying to let people get to know you.
Hmm.
Just like Councilman Nicholas and Mortazavi is doing. And when all of these accusations start, then you start defending yourself. It turns into I'm defending, these lies because it's not the truth. And then it turns into fear because those conversations turn into accusations that threatens your family. And for me, it was to the point my daughter was so afraid that she wanted me to quit the council because she was so afraid. We were afraid. And speaking to Councilman Mortazavi last night, um, and the mayor, because the concern is healthy. We were just on the show talking about the election and saying that, it's healthy for people to want change and want to see different things. And we we want that. We want you to be engaged. But how we go about it and the things that's going on in the world currently, we're in a dangerous space. And I know that Sapulpa, this is a place where we all grew up, born and raised. We love this city. And it just saddens me that I have to sit here on Good Friday preparing for Easter,
Yeah.
all the things that are going on great in this town, and we are talking about racism threats and propaganda for city council seat. It's just disappointing.
I can definitely understand that. Yeah. I was just telling you before we started the show that this was not initially the original plan for today's show. Like I said, Fridays are usually pretty happy days. We're looking forward to the weekend. It's Easter, so we've got a story coming out about all the different Easter events and stuff that are happening. Um, but I guess it is kind of ironic that a day that, like Good Friday, which is supposed to be a somber remembrance, we're spending it in kind of a somber way here. Um, I'm curious about as far as your own experience and stuff dealing with this sort of just a really attack on character, I guess, which uh, you've been how long have you been on city council?
8 years.
Okay, so you've been here through some of the most tumultuous decisions and stuff that the city council's had to make over the last several years. Here during COVID, mask mandates, we all remember a lot of that. Some of the more recent ones, like the tower on 49th West Avenue, that was a controversial issue. But I don't recall, not since you were running for re-election, actually, or election, I should say, that it was it's just crazy to see this kind of stuff come out in a small town city council election. So how did you deal with that personally, and what made you decide to go ahead and stay on even though your daughter wanted you to quit?
A few things. I think one, my love for the community and for Sapulpa and just wanting to, I don't know, let people get to know me and know how much I care about our city. And I didn't really want to go public and racism and things like that. I just engulfed myself in the work. Booker T, I took during that time, my vice was COVID and the mask.
Hmm.
Everybody was divided. Of course, if you were for the mask, um that I was,
Right.
because of I come from the healthcare world, 35 years of healthcare. So I'm seeing COVID on a different side. And so COVID was a big issue, and just trying to engage with people. I tried to say, hey, come have some coffee with me. Come sit down. Let's conversate, get to know me. Because basically what happens is that you're judged by the color of your skin, just like David is getting um judged. You get judged. So basically, I don't care. Letters went out that I'm not a Christian. That hurt.
I bet it did.
You know, I'm ignorant because I'm a Democrat. Just, and we all know that city council is bipartisan.
Mhm.
And so when we're out spreading who's a Democrat, who's a Republican, we know that if you're elected, we represent all of Sapulpa. I'm not asking, when someone calls me with an issue, I'm not asking them, well, are you Democrat or are you Republican? We just, that's not how it works. So I don't know why that is important. We all are going through the same, we're all lifing. That's what I like to say. And um, I don't, it's hard to not be bitter, but I tell you, I had a lot of people that rallied around me also and supported me, that I went to school with, and friends, and all of them. It wasn't just black people, it was all different races that rallied around me because they knew what kind of person that I was. And with that being said, I just want to take a moment and speak on um Councilman Nicholas and Councilman Mortazavi. You, it is your right to vote for whom you want to vote, and whoever comes on, we're going to accept, just like I was accepted on the council. We're here for the community. But I tell you, those two people are the most kind, most passionate about their community. And I I think that people ought to know that. And David is always giving out his phone number and saying, call me. And really, our cards used to have our address and phone number on it. And the reason why they don't now is because of what happened with me,
Right.
because people come to your house and threaten you. And so here are two people that are willing to sit down and talk about the concerns and fix the problems. And that's all that we can do as council members. I don't know where people feel like one person can change a council. We're a member of 10. And so one vote is just one vote. You have to have the majority of the vote. And I feel that getting to know one, your city council and your ward. And I must say, Micah, you've done a really good job at interviewing and giving people a chance to meet their council members, because they really don't know us until they're mad.
Yeah,
You-
that's unfortunate. Yeah,
and you want to encourage people. It's like, before you get to a boiling point, we're always available. Reach out to us. We make the time for folks. Elizabeth makes the time. David makes the time. Marty, everyone on that council makes the time for our constituents. And that, I understand, is you get upset. That's what brought me to the council, being upset about something. So it's good to want to change and want to see change and want to be a part of something being fixed. But it's a way to do it. And whether you're hiding behind a church, hiding behind racism, hiding behind lies, that is not the way to do it. And it makes you angry. It really does. And it makes you sad. And we know, those of us that's from Sapulpa, we know that that's not everyone. We know, just, and everybody has their bad experience, and we get that too. But it's just sad that we're in this space, and it's dangerous. you know Elizabeth, David, especially David, they got family. When you have family, now you go into protection mode.
mhm,
You want to protect your family. And so here you're juggling. I'm trying to support the community and be a good steward of my city, but also I'm concerned about my family's safety.
right.
It's horrible.
It is. You're bringing out shining a light on something really good, actually. Like David, Nick, Elizabeth, yourself, very involved with the community outside of just sitting behind the dais on city council. And so at any given time, you're bound to see David in fact, I mean, I think all of us or a bunch of us are going to be at the topping out ceremony that's happening at 10 o'clock today over at the high school. We've got a ribbon cutting happening for the Route 66 park coming up. And so, and I know that David's kids, they're all involved in extracurricular and volunteer opportunities and stuff. So, um, it's really a shame that like this is, it's like you said, the city councilors are easily accessible, and so are their families. I mean, the, they work in the community that we live in and serve. And I will say this has been. This is me speaking here, but I have noticed since we began covering this, there has been uh, somewhat expected because of what happened on the national stage and the controversial subjects that we've had in the White House over the last several years. Um, people are really beginning to look at Sapulpa through the lens of what's happening nationally. And I really believe that's what's happening here. And that's why we're seeing something as asinine as trying to turn a local beloved businessman who is from Iran, but came here when he was a child and is as American as anybody, as you or me. And trying to somehow say that this person has a Muslim agenda or something and is going to turn the city of Sapulpa, Creek County, upside down in the reddest state of the union, guys. Come on. Um, it's ridiculous, but I will say that some of the folks that are involved with this campaign, this has been a consistent issue with them. They look at things through the lens of what's happening nationally, and I have to tell you, it's like you said, City Council is a bipartisan, apolitical council. There have always been Democrats and Republicans on this council from the time it was started, and it has never made a difference. You guys are not making the decisions at city council based on how you feel about national issues like abortion or immigration or things like that. I mean, you're making the decisions based on how it's going to affect the people, the community that you serve and live in, right? So,
What's right and what's wrong. And, you know, speaking with other counselors, sometimes our yeses, our votes are yes and our votes are no. It's a 50-50. We could be on the other side of that. And I think just some of the things that was said on these flyers that's circulating around, and I think that if you have a question about how we've voted and your concerns, reach out to your council member, your ward. And it doesn't, even if you don't know what ward you're in, you can reach out to any of us. We represent all. We're going to try to fix the problem. And I think that that's more important instead of thinking about who's I personally I as a leader, I feel like I'm going to lean towards what's right. I don't even think about Democrat, Republican. I'm listening to what people are saying and what's hurting them and what's bothering them. And that's how I approach things. And I think that, I can't speak for all of our council members, but, we have a diverse um, council and very
we do.
passionate about, you know, money to spend and safety. And I know that it doesn't feel like that sometimes. We get mad about the same things, whether we're talking about, property taxes going up or, certain things that the cost of living has gotten everyone feeling that crunch. But let's don't take that and turn our town that is growing and so wonderful and turn this into um, a racial issue and put fear into folks. And I want to say, it's easy to do. I never judge because I it was a time when the things happened with George Floyd,
Hmm.
and another division where people were mad at the police, and that was a big issue. And for me as a Black person, here is what I challenged myself. Instead of making a haste decision, let me go 14 weeks to the Citizen Police Academy
Yeah.
so I can understand what they go through every day and the quick judgments that they have to make, because I appreciate the men and women that protect us. And I don't want one thing to have impact on me so deeply that I'm going to go out and say, well, I don't like our police and I don't trust our police. And that is I challenge people to go out and get to know the thing that you fear. Go out and understand. I don't know if people have seen that movie long time ago. It's like Freaky Friday, and it's like a person, all of a sudden I become Micah for a day. And so learning what a person goes through is important, and that's important to me. And I challenge people to get to know what is unknown, because we've all had bad experiences, whether it's with another race or what have you, a man, a woman. So, how do we navigate through that without putting a label on all? And we're it's sad to see two good people go through this and the hurt that they feel. And I know how that feels. It's like PTSD for me, but it's hurtful.
Um, well, you said it best, I think, earlier when you basically implied that we have to take the partisan politics side of it and put that aside. And it's about what's right and it's about what's wrong. And so I want to encourage you guys, if you're in one of these wards, you're going to be exercising your right to vote, really put the Republican side of it outside your mind, if that's possible for you, and just think about what's right and what's wrong, and think about the candidates that we have and the ones that are running, and make the best decision that you can based on your own processes to get there through that. But yeah, so hopefully in due time we'll return to a an election campaign season that's not rife with conflict like this. It would be nice to just have just two people who respect each other running for the seat, and but we can hope. So, thank you very much for being here.
You you're welcome, and happy Easter to
Yes.
everyone.
Yes. So, again, it's an odd way to end the week, but I mean, it needed to be done. So, if nothing else, guys, I hope that you guys have a great, wonderful Easter weekend. Hope you get to spend some time with your family, eat some food, hunt some eggs, whatever it is that you do. And in the meantime, we will see you again on Monday at the next episode, and we'll talk to you then. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the Time Loop. Bye bye.